I want to talk a little bit about work-life integration because there's a certain balance that has to come, in what we do every day. And in a world that glorifies this hustle sort of mentality, how do you structure your work and personal life to honor your mental health and self-care?
Oh, that's a good question.
Mm.
Well, the way it looks now might not be the way that it looks 6 months from now, a year from now, a few years from now. So we do have to recognize that we're still on a trajectory and that even if we're trying to optimize things and we're trying to improve things, that doesn't just happen overnight, usually. So even if we become an entrepreneur, we then have to learn how to create structure and create accountability and create systems and ways of being that work for us. And so there's no quick fix for that. A lot of the time, we might learn from past ways of dealing with things like, oh, if I go for a walk, I'm going to feel better. But then sometimes we'll respond in that exact same way and we won't feel better. We won't feel good. And we'll be like, hey, why is this happening? Like it worked before, but it's not working now. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of it is just learning about yourself, learning about what you value, what you care about, what you need, how much structure feels good to you, how much do you need other people in your life, how much support or input do you need from other people, how often do you want to engage with other people, what kind of work do you want to be doing, what kind of clients do you want to have. You got to ask yourself these questions and constantly be reflecting on this felt really good. And why did that feel good? How could I recreate more of that? Or how could I have optimized that better? And eventually you kind of refine and you develop these systems and this structure that does create a really nice balance because it's based on all of these kind of minuscule observations that you've made that where you've learned about yourself and who you are. And we don't change that much over time. So even though things may gradually evolve or improve, ultimately we're still who we are and we can still learn from all of our past experiences and create something that is unique to us and feels good to us. And I think part of it is having that flexibility to know that one ideal day could be very different from another ideal day depending on all the other factors around you. So I could be doing several podcasts in one day and really loving it today, but I could have another day where I have several podcasts and I don't love it because of whatever reason. Then I can analyze that and say, well, oh, maybe it's because I didn't meet the person before I did the interview, or maybe it's because I should have really rescheduled that interview because I just had a vacation the next day and I was stressed about it. Like maybe I didn't really vibe with that person and that's the reason why. Or maybe I needed more time, but I had to fit it into less time. Or maybe it's because I was like in my office and it was too hot and I was uncomfortable. So be willing to learn, be willing to adapt, be willing to change things up, and be willing to advocate for yourself to get those little things that make a huge difference to how you feel, but people might not understand.
Yeah. And I love that. I feel like you really painted a picture of what it looks like to hold space for yourself, even in the middle of the grind. And speaking of that, I know as entrepreneurs, our schedules can pull us in a million different directions at any given moment. Do you have any non-negotiable self-care rituals that keep you grounded no matter how busy things get?
I like that because non-negotiable is a very specific thing for me.
Mhm.
And I think even with the non-negotiables, they sometimes can be negotiable. It just depends on the specifics. I would say I really like the way you phrased it because it's making me think about so many things. I would say one of my non-negotiables is I don't take meetings before 10 a.m. I just don't like to. My sleep is notoriously not good, regardless of how hard I try. And so I need that extra time in the morning to get as much sleep as I can and have time to be ready to start my day. And I can't predict how I'm going to feel. So I know if I try to make myself get on a call or do something before 10 a.m., I'm not going to enjoy that. I'm going to feel like I'm forcing myself, and that's going to be traumatic for me. So Normally it's 11 or even 12 when I start doing meetings, and I only have like two, maybe three meetings in a day. I'm very strict about that. I also have Wednesdays is my meeting free day, so I don't have any calls at all on a Wednesday. I think we talked about this
Yeah.
a little bit last time
Yeah.
we spoke. That has been huge for me because like I can go to appointments, I can see a friend, I can make a personal call or what have you, but I don't have any work related calls on Wednesday. So that's my day to kind of reflect, create, catch up on things, do whatever I feel I need to do. That's been huge for me. I would say another one is with my partner. We try to always spend a couple of hours together between 5 and 7 p.m. So he's working 9 to 5. We work from home. He's in and out of meetings. I'm doing my stuff. By the time we get to 5 p.m., I usually don't want to work anymore. Sometimes I'll work like later in the evening, but I need a break. So we've learned to spend time together, even if we're just like making dinner or go for a walk or go to the grocery store. Like we still take that time, because if we don't, we find that there's kind of a buildup of things we haven't said. We feel disconnected. We end up having arguments. And so that's a really sacred time that we've learned to create and carve out for ourselves. I think other than that, I don't want to ever feel like I have to do something that I don't want to do. Like in general, as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur and somebody who doesn't have kids, doesn't have like obligations that require me to do things I don't want to do, I get to choose how I spend all of my time and all of my resources. So if I find
Yeah.
myself not wanting to do something, I don't, you know, like there's really nothing holding me to that other than something in my own mind. So I'll always question that and ask myself, why do I feel like I have to do this? And why am I not enjoying this? Is there a reality in which I don't do that thing? And almost always there is, and I take it. And it's really
Yeah.
empowering.
Yeah. And I think that it's so important. We bonded over the Wednesdays because when you said that, I'm like, oh, yeah, me too. My eyes lit up because I call Wednesday my healing day.
Mm,
Um, and I choose to do it that way because, I mean, again, if you work Monday through Friday, then yeah, you have Saturday and Sunday. So to me, the weekend was off the table because that's a given. And I said, you know what, Wednesday, middle of the week, yeah, I'm going to refill my cup on that day. So I choose not to see clients. And I always have people who want to come in and say, oh, but, could you do this? And I have to tell them I could, but I won't because I've designated this as my day.
mm.
If I meet you on that day, it's truly an honor. Okay.
Yeah.
Because again, that's the day to kind of refill your cup. And I think that people really need to start normalizing that. Everybody doesn't have the luxury of taking a whole day. And I understand that. It has to work for you.
Mhm.
The whole key to a non-negotiable is it needs to be something that works for you. And it needs to be
Yeah.
set up in a way that people don't even have or aren't even put in the position to negotiate.
Hmm. Hmm.
Wednesday's off the table, period. Asked and answered, and so it's
Yeah.
really important for people to set up and to know your why. We don't just declare Wednesdays as a day that we don't take on meetings or see clients just because it's the middle of the week. We do so because we know come Wednesday we need to refill our cup. We need to do things to get over what has happened on Monday and Tuesday and prepare ourselves for Thursday and Friday. um
Yeah, yeah. And a big part of what makes my work enjoyable is when I have an idea and I let my brain just be creative and like run with the idea. And when I have a vision for something I want to create, I want to go and do that thing. But it's difficult to do the thing when you're in meetings or when people are expecting things of you. So by the time I get to Wednesday, there's usually something I want to create, something I want to write, something I want to record, something I want to make or design or construct in whatever way I need to. And I have the space for that. I have the creative freedom to do that. So it's really important to me that I know that I'm not just accumulating ideas and like spinning my wheels and then not able to actually go anywhere. And knowing that about myself is why I chose the Wednesday thing. And there are other people who are like, that wouldn't work for me at all. And that's perfectly valid as well. I think I played around with a lot of things. Like I only have meetings in the afternoons so I can be productive in the mornings. And that worked well for a while. But it just, again, it depends on what kind of priorities you have, how it feels. And maybe a year from now, I'm not doing the Wednesday thing. Maybe there's something else that works well for me at that time. I don't know. And I don't have to know, which is part of the fun of it.